know all about it.
Well, we'll find out soon. Looking forward a little bit to the testing next week. Of course, we've had a couple of teams already unveil their bikes and their liveries for this year. Gresini unveiled their new colours and launching their new era as a satellite Ducati team as they return to full independent status. And also we had the With You RNF Yamaha, of course, unveiling with Dovizioso and Binder having a sort of operatic view as well of that release too. So all very very glamorous. But looking ahead to testing, guys, what are you looking out for? What's your eyes on in these first initial tests? Because I know it's hard to pick things up, isn't it? Especially when there might be a lot of time having to just get the track up to speed. But what your eyes looking at?
Mm-hmm. Yamaha. It's got to be Yamaha. You've got to look at Yamaha. What have they got? What are they doing? Like I see Dovi trilling about the fact he's got a full factory bike this year in what is an untried team. I mean, Razvan Razali's RNF team, is a shadow of its former self. We are going to see whether they are going to be up to speed. Dovi, is he going to be good enough? I don't think so. I think Dovi's done. Sorry about that. It's going to go down hard for a lot of people. And I'm a massive Dovi fan. You can look back. I'm not just saying it. You can look back in my timeline. I've always been very pro Dovizioso. But things have moved on. And if Yamaha haven't caught up and Dovi is, running into the age of, I won't say lacking commitment, but you need a commitment nowadays. Even though I've said earlier on, these bikes are easier to ride than they've ever been ever. You're talking about blisters on your hands. Well, that's how hard they're having to ride a motorbike. That's a much easier motorbike to ride than they've ever been in Grand Prix level. But I just can't see in my heart of hearts, Dovi being able to hack it.
Well, Keith, guys. Chris Whiteside has asked, is it one last year for a payday before making way for Toprak?
It's not about pay. I wouldn't be derogatory to Dovizioso in that fact. And Dovi's the kind of guy that won't ride a below par motorcycle over the top. Dovi's the kind of guy, you give him the kit and he will ride it as fast as he can. I mean, I think what we saw from Dovi last year says to me that the bike wasn't quite the bike that he wanted, wasn't quite the top bike, so therefore he didn't give it that 110% situation. And we will see better, I think, from him in 2022, but I just don't believe that. I think that things have moved on, and they do move on in MotoGP. Is he doing a payday? No, he's not doing a payday. He's still serious about it. That's a fact. I saw that tweet. It was a guy that said, is he just having a payday waiting for Toprak Razgatlioglu to come through? And you've got to say that Toprak, he's one of the most exciting motorcycle racers I've ever seen. And that is saying something. I mean, I think that Toprak, moving on into MotoGP, will be spectacular. He's what MotoGP needs. Rossi moves out. Maybe Marquez, depending on injuries, his spectacular riding style might be a little more subdued this year. Bring on Toprak. I'd love to have seen him in 2022 on something good. But Kenan Sofuoglu is, the multiple world supersport champion who now manages him, is quite smart. He gets a lot of stick because I don't think the old MotoGP guys quite like some of the things that Kenan comes out with. I do, though, because he's a bit of a maverick, and I think he says stuff, and I think, he's going to ruffle a few feathers when he's in the MotoGP paddock with Toprak under his wing. It's going to be a very interesting year when he gets there, and I think it's going to give the year enough time to shape up. Toprak is going to be able to see what's the motorbike that's developed the best during this transitional year almost. We're coming out of the freeze of COVID, out of the tech freeze, into this year. What bike is going to be the one to do it? At the moment, it looks like Ducati are head and shoulders above everyone else. So maybe Ducati's the bike that he'll want in 2023. But there'll be a clearer picture this year as to what will be the developing team, the developing bike. And that's when Toprak will come in with a bang in 2023. I really hope so.
But, Pete, it looks like Yamaha really want to make a bid for Toprak. I think there are rumours that RNF tried to get him for this year, or at least inquired. Perhaps he's their reserve rider this year as well. He's going to have a test on an M1 Yamaha alongside Cal Crutchlow. So Yamaha really making a play for him. And I think Toprak has got a deal in Superbikes till the end of 23. But it seems like if he can get out of it early, he will.
Yeah, I mean, the Yamaha route would be the natural one, wouldn't it? But there's this snagging point which Kenan Sofuoglu, as his manager, and he's obviously going to shoot for the best for his rider, he's saying he wants a factory team. And we've been talking, Morbidelli is signed up until the end of next year. That leaves Quartararo as the only factory place. Well, Yamaha are not going to kick out Quartararo for Toprak, no matter how good he is, because they're going to do everything to keep Fabio. So if Fabio stays in place, what happens then to Toprak? As Keith was saying, does he then look at other teams? Toprak's got a close association with Red Bull. There's obviously a Red Bull KTM team, but there's also a lot of Red Bull branding on that Repsol Honda, isn't there? The lower part of the fairing is all Red Bull. And, maybe they would be prepared to take a bit of a gamble. I think there'd be a lot of, it depends on how serious, as Keith was saying, Keenan's doing the right thing as a manager, and he's making clear that Toprak wants the best. It all depends on, is he prepared to settle for a satellite team, a factory bike at a satellite team, in which case Yamaha could give him that next year, no problem at all. I mean, Dovi and Binder are both only on 1-year deals, so they could put together that, straight away. Or if he really insisting, how much does he really want this factory team? In which case, they might well have to look at another manufacturer.
Well,
you always move Morbidelli back to RNF.
Keith, this was the time of year. I think you said this last year. It was this time of year that deals would already start to be in motion for 23 because of, half the grid is, their contract is up at the end of this year. So, what does this mean for a lot of riders? How can you make a deal now for 23 when you haven't had you don't know how you've performed this season as a rider, you don't know how each team has performed? How is this 23 sort of silly season shaping up now in 22?
I think it's a mistake to make it too early. You make the deal early if you're not sure about your rider. I mean, the Petrucci situation is probably a good one, in that Petrucci didn't perform like they would have expected him to, but the deal was done really early. So that probably was a little bit of a mistake. It narrows down the seats that are available. But I'll tell you what, if you're a manufacturer and Toprak is out there floating around, you're going to be looking at taking the young Turk on. You've got a country that's got 84 million people in it. Not a bad bloody place to be selling your wares to start with. He's the fastest Muslim for some time, which is another selling type tick, if you like, as well. We've got a situation here where the diversity thing is covered fairly well with that. I just think Toprak, if he is, Kenan Sofuoglu has got an absolute ace up his sleeve here with Toprak. Is he going to be a 2-time World Superbike champion by the end of 2022? Quite possibly. Jonathan Rea, the restrictions that were on Kawasaki in World Superbikes last year, because Jonathan was basically walked off with six world titles. They restricted Kawasaki probably just a tad too much during the 21 season. There'll probably be some adjustments that World Superbike have got up their sleeve for this coming season. They've got a test coming up very soon, so we're going to get an idea. I think they're all at Jerez, aren't they? The bloody annual test at Jerez, which is always really, really quick at this time of the year because it's cooler and the track is in really good condition there always. But I think Toprak and Jonathan Rea, this year is going to be another spectacular World Superbike season. Jonathan Rea should have been in MotoGP years ago. He stayed where he did. Honda basically duffed him up, I think, with that one when he got stuck with Ten Kate and the Honda, and he never got the ride he should have done with Honda in MotoGP, my view. And Toprak, they would have seen that. They will have learnt from that. Kenan Sofuoglu is a tough character, and he will be looking to get the best possible ride for his rider. And that discussion, back to your question, will be happening now. They will be across this now. In Sepang, when the first test, Madalika, when that comes up just shortly after that, there will be people. In fact, it's quite a good sport. Sitting on the IRTA deck, IRTA coffee in hand, watching the management hiding behind trucks and various other nooks and crannies where these managers are meeting. Because managers usually have 2, 3, 4 riders under their wing. Aki Ayo has got, despite the fact he's also got a team, I mean, he's got lots of riders he looks after. Different managers look after lots of different riders. Kenan Sofuoglu looks after Toprak. There are very few managers that look after one rider. So they know where the pieces are going because they've got 3 or 4 riders. It's like owning several pieces on the chess table. You already know where you're going to put one of them, so you can maneuver another one in a pincer movement, if you like, as a managerial coup. And that goes on all the time. I mean, it's quite good fun, actually, watching all the managers wandering around. We should do a piece on that, actually. You need a cameraman just so you can catch them hiding behind the bike sheds, always doing their little deals.
One day we will all be in the same place in person. We will record a podcast where we're sat having a coffee, watching the paddock go by. That will happen. I'm determined to make it happen. And it's interesting though, actually, obviously Toprak is the talk of the town, but World Superbikes obviously have an amazing plethora of riders, and with a lot of MotoGP riders out of contract. I think even Iker Lecuona was having to bat away suggestions that he might end up replacing Marc Marquez in the Honda. If he can't do the Sepang test or the early part of the season. Can you tell I'm trying to bring back Lecuona hype again? Come on, Iker, you could do it.
Well, he did actually. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of quality of the field we've got when someone like Lecuona is eased out. That it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I don't think he's been given a fair crack of the whip, but obviously, management do think he's been given a fair crack of the whip when he's dropped off the edge. I mean, it's a state of our sport. We're spoilt for riches, really, in MotoGP, Moto2.
The talent we talked about this before. The talent is incredible, isn't it? Sorry, Pete. Go on. What are you about to say?
I just want to say one more thing on Toprak, which is I think that this test that he's going to do, or when he does the test, I think that'll be massive in terms of the options that are available. Because that's the last real question mark, isn't it? We all know he's fantastically talented. If he gets on that M1, and especially if he's testing with Cal, and Cal is able to, they can compare with Cal's data. Everyone knows how quick Cal is. Cal is also very good at assessing other riders, and they can, he can give the feedback as well. I mean, that would be the final box to tick for me. If Toprak is quick when he gets on that M1, I think, there's going to be a rush. You'll see the managers in like a Usain Bolt 100-meter sprint to try and get his signature, because I think that is the only thing that remains. There's always that slight doubt, isn't there? Can someone transition from Superbike? We saw Ben Spies come across as a champion. We've seen Colin Edwards. We've seen Troy Bayliss. I know Colin didn't quite win a race, but effectively he came within one corner, didn't he? And they were able to win in MotoGP, but no one's yet become the world champion in that route. But Toprak, I mean, he's up there with the best that we've seen in terms of potential. But I just think that would be the last box that the MotoGP, let's say, decision makers will want to see is, and I don't just mean Yamaha, I mean all of the teams will be watching that Yamaha test, wherever it is. I think Yamaha will want to do it behind closed doors and keep all of the lap times private so that the others don't know. But I think that would be the last box to tick. If he goes quick in that, you need to sign him up quick, because there'll just be a stampede.
He's going to be quick. I have absolutely no doubt about it. He's going to be quick. I mean, the way that he rides that, I mean, he out Marquez Marquez in a lot of respects when you see the way he rides that World Superbike Yamaha. And I think that the Honda shout that you were talking about earlier, he would be, if I was at Honda, he'd be the man I'd want to be hiring.
Well,
and just to give context, I know we were talking about when these decisions are made. Going back to the previous 2-year cycle, it was basically now that Quartararo signed for the factory Yamaha team and Vinales signed. So, we're not being sort of premature in our discussions here. It's about now where the first deals are normally made. Okay, maybe COVID has slowed things down. We saw Marquez sign his 4-year deal, wasn't it, in February. So if you like going off past history, Yamaha and Honda, they're two manufacturers that are happy to do an early deal. So, who knows? Where will that next signature come from? There's already been rumors of Joan Mir. Might he be on the list at Honda? I think there's certainly going to be somebody's going to fall into place, a major player, let's say, by the first race weekend. I think it'd be a surprise if they don't.
It's exciting, isn't it? I feel like we've dusted off the cobwebs with this episode. It's been a while. We're back into it. Or at least I've dusted off the cobwebs at least. So I don't want to speak for you two. I want to end, as we are coming to the end now, with a question. I don't know if this is a joke question or if it actually happened. So Daniel Patrick Coyle has asked, why is sidecar racing not part of the official MotoGP package at race meetings? It used to be in the old days, right, Keith? Really?
It did. And I mean, what do you mean, really? What do you mean, really? You bloody GT3 aficionado, you. Sidecar racing. I mean, they were innovative. They were engineers. The teams were great fun in the paddock. I mean, I used to spend quite a lot of my time up in the boondocks, which is where they used to keep the Moto3. Nowadays the sidecars. They used to keep them way away from everything else. I mean, sidecars, I'm going to get some stick for this. I really am. They don't have any relevance. The problem is they don't have the relevance that they had back in the day. Do you see a sidecar on the road? How often do you see a sidecar on the road? Where is the manufacturer situation with a sidecar? There isn't any link to any marketing situation now where sidecars can be considered to be, we've got electric bikes now. We're talking about, we've got the World Cup Moto E. That's taken the slot that sidecars would have naturally have been in. The end of the day, the fill-in thing, the one that you can drop or you can shorten the laps to because the rest of the program has taken longer during the day for whatever reason. Sidecar racing, bloody good fun to watch. Really, really good stuff. I would recommend to anybody that's not been to a sidecar race, go and watch it because it's really, really, those guys don't give any quarter, that is for sure. And engineering-wise, if you go and have a look around at some of the early stuff, the Beeland, Rolf Beeland was the man of innovation back in the day. Jock Taylor, a good friend of mine back in the day as well, the Scotsman that was killed at Martra all those years ago when they used to race on a horrible road track with railway lines across it and all the rest of it. Back in the day, I mean, we're just talking about something that really has lost the relevance to the road, to manufacturers, and to the fashion of things. So unfortunately, that's the reason why we don't see it. It is a big loss, but unfortunately there isn't the room in the program for them to be there. Not if you're going to add the rookies, the Asia Talent Cup, get young riders on Grand Prix circuits in Grand Prix situations, and also promote the World Cup of electric bikes in Moto E. So there's just never going to be the room. There's no way back for them. They backed up World Superbike at one stage, didn't they? We had sidecars at World Superbike, some World Superbike races. You can still see them sometimes at club level and the like and national level, but not much at international anymore. And I can't see them coming back either. So sidecars are done.
I think exactly to say, Keith, when you see the race day schedule at some of these events, isn't it? I mean, the track action is packed as it is. I mean, who would you drop? As Keith rightly says, friends of mine that are like you guys that say commentators, sometimes I feel sorry for them because they're not leaving the booth. I mean, you look at the action, it just goes on from the morning to the evening. I mean, at some of these tracks, there's so many talent cups now as well as the Grand Prix classes. I think people that maybe follow it just on TV, they don't realize all these other classes that are going on outside of the live TV coverage. But every Grand Prix weekend is packed with action as it is. So trying to fit another class in with any other class would be, a big effort anyway.
Well, that's a shame. Maybe we should. Maybe we could pitch it and do a crash version and see if we can get it back up and running. But
maybe we'll get a GT3 race.
What's your beef with GT3?
GT3 race.
Unbelievable. Right, I'll take you to a GT3 race this year and we'll change your mind. If I could drag you to four wheels. Okay, well, that just about does it, I think, gents, for our first one of 2022. We're back in business near about. Malaysia test in Sepang is next week, isn't it? 5th of February to the 6th of February. And we shall return with you on the podcast at this time next month for more MotoGP chats. And we'll know a lot more, hopefully, by then about how the season might shape out with testing well underway, of course. But you can keep up to date with all the very latest on crash.net in the meantime. So one more for February, and then we're back up to one show a week again in March because we know you missed us and we missed you too. Any questions, send them in all the usual ways, even if they're on sidecars. Leave them in the comments section or tweet, Instagram, Facebook us. Just search Crash MotoGP on social media. Leave us a review if you could be so kind, wherever you get your podcasts from. And we shall see you right back here next month. Bye-bye.